a few times. There it is. All righty. And there we go. All right, we're recording. We're not going to bother trying to do the Facebook Live. I just want to, for everybody that hopped on after I said that, I'm in Facebook jail. I have limited access. So we're just going to record and post the YouTube link to the Literary Cypher group. So everybody has access. You can share as you like to anywhere, everywhere, to anyone. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. This is the Literary Cypher, November 2021. We've been here for, I think this is, 13 months now. So a little over a year. I'm super excited to have you all join us tonight. Very simple. We're just going to just read one after the other. And I usually keep the meeting open after everyone is read, just to, if anybody wants to stay on and chat. While you're reading, everyone please, or while they're reading, everybody please, if you would just mute your mic so we can be respectful in the space. And if you guys would please, let me see. Go ahead and there you go. Post your links to your Instagram, Facebook, your websites, all of that, links to your books. Post all of that in the chat. So I normally save it all and then I add it to the database on the group and then share it. That way everybody, as soon as they see you guys read, they can, I can go ahead and get that book. I can go ahead and get that book. It's all about promoting and supporting all of these lovely writers. Okay. Now, is everyone cool? Everybody settled? Everybody got what they need? You got your bourbon, got your tea, got your pumpkin spice latte? Because it is still fall. I want to go ahead and put that out there because I see everybody throwing up these trees and stuff, disrespecting my season. So it is still fall. So if y'all got a pumpkin spice latte, shout out to you. All right. So let me refresh my own self with the lineup order because I know Angelique, you're first, correct? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started there, and I'm gonna fall on back and let you ladies do your thing, okay?
Yes, ma'am. All righty. Well, I'm excited, obviously, LP. I feel like this has been a long time coming because we had an opportunity to talk like 2 months back. So I'm excited that I finally get to be here and fellowship with all of you today. Some of you I've read with before. I think Sarah and I did a reading before a couple of months ago. So I'm excited to see her again. And those of you that I'm just meeting virtually, I'm very excited to be here with you and to hear all of your great work. I am going to, I'll tell you a little bit about kind of my writing. So my last 2 books, the first was called Burn Down Your House, and it was a reflection on marriage in the time of social and political and, environmental upheaval. So the pandemic. And then the one prior to that was called Love Letters to the Revolution, which is kind of a love note to my daughter, who is nicknamed the Revolution, but also Black women who I feel like lift up this country that we have. We show up, we do things, we move things. And so I wanted to give honor to the women who in my community who raised me and taught me to be a revolution in itself. I'm working on a third longer book. So those 2 were chap books. This one is a book length and it's called Seraphim. And it kind of weaves together personal mythologies and my background in religion and etc. So I'll be reading a few from those tonight. And I'll actually start with the titular poem. It's called Sister Seraphim, Inextinguishable Light. They dancing and singing tonight. Black Barbies backlit by gas station fluorescence, singing, holy, holy, holy. Their loud praises rattling my window, syncopated steps, wings out, rhythm on, radiant, with the backbeat unbroken, backs unbroken, unfettered, and unbothered in 8 and 16th time. This very night there before me is an angel, and I saw her drop it low, all while cars pull in and out, top off or fill up at the pumps. I can relate to being half empty and thirsting to be full. she, her, they blazing. This could be worship, loud and exuberant as every light-bleached club where I once got hot and sweaty to reggae, rubbed underneath somebody as vigorously as kindling before catching fire. It could be easy to forget how good adoration feels. I can't forget what good feels like paradise. They so flame and I see it. It could be heaven. This lot of half-level, bumpy concrete, glittering full, jeweled with bottle shards and wrapping paper confetti. They could burn it all down, but glory, they invite us to join the chorus. First. And I talk, I mentioned it's kind of full of mythologies. I want to kind of elevate all of the different archetypes and personalities that exist within my community. And I think all of them are, some of them are, we think of them as ordinary, but I think of them as holy, because I feel like holiness can exist in everything. This next poem is a personal mythology about how I got my name. And it's, so my name is Angelique. The anglicized way of saying it is Angelique, the French way of saying it. And my mother named me, we have kind of Black Creole French background and all of this stuff. My mom and grandma are originally from Louisiana, et cetera. And so she wanted a name. I was her first. She was 17 when she got pregnant with me. She was 18 when she had me. And so she invested a lot of energy into this name. So it's Angelique, an origin story. My mama said I was blessed born, said she didn't need divine messenger to convince her of what she carried, knew immediately that I didn't need to be brought into this world by virgin or conceived as sacrifice. Didn't need a sign. She knew a good thing coming despite the short-term trouble for a teen nearly as young as Mary. She'd already done a lot of living in her small corner of the world. My mama said, her mama said, and really because my people say there's power in names, like the many names of God, one of which has got to be mama, or like we say, name it and claim it, or like when you're reaching for the word, for the right word, like moist or itch, no other word will do. All that got her thinking. My mama said, when they laid me on her breast, she cradled me to her chest where her beating heart hummed of survival and salvation, and that throbbing tune lulled us both to sleep. My mama said a punk girl can dream of angels and know when one manifests. She said she looked into an angel's eyes and claimed it as her own. Okay. So Angelique is French for angel-like. And so I even remember growing up, like, we all had like different, very unusual names. And I had a teacher once who told me my name was made up. And of course I told my mama, and my mama came over to the school and told them even if my name had been made up, that it wasn't their right to tell me or her what she could name or could not name one of her children. So that's my mama. And I'm trying to be that type of mama to mine too. So, oh, that's my daughter. You want to come in and say hello? Okay. So my daughter is nicknamed the Revolution, and this started when she was very young, because I said, we want to invest all the same principles that I got, not being afraid to stand up for ourselves, not being afraid to assert ourselves, to be as bold and as loud as we'd like to be. And so there were, and very early on, she started to show those traits. So I think about the time she started talking, we knew that we were gonna have to always have a good argument when we talk to her. So I'm going to, for that, you want to say hello? She's standing here. She's thinking about coming out and saying hello. That's okay. She gets camera shy. So I'm going to read It's called Transfiguration, or As the Spirit Is, So Follows the Body. At night, the revolution and I deliberate the benefits of metamorphosis, the merits of inhabiting animal bodies. Consider the gifts and settle that to be a bird of prey, swivel-necked, keen-eyed, with crushing beak and claw, a great horned owl would be best. We discuss whether we subsist only on crow or snake or juicy mouse or frog. Question if it's more fulfilling to crunch the bone or chew the rubber band tendons until they snap under the pressure of our attention than to peel the skin back and chew warm and pulpy the muscles of cold-blooded beasts. You know, I've eaten frog and snake, yeah, mama, but mice and crow, I suppose I'd learn to love the taste. She nods her head and snuggles into my body. To her, I am the fiercest, hungriest animal. It is so tender and good. What is truth but what we have all agreed to believe? So I will leave it there because I know we got a lineup to go through, and I'm anxious to hear everyone's work. So thank you.
That was gorgeous. Thank you so much, Angelique. You won't mess up your name. And who in the chat, Sarah said, aren't all names made up? For real, though. Parents get to do what they want. Right. So thank you guys so much. This is a nice ending to a long day at the office. So I appreciate y'all and poems. My most recent book, Starlight and Air, covers some of the same things that Angelique was thinking about, but in very different ways. We're myriad, so we do all the things as poets, right? But it's a book of love poems, and it kind of traces the trajectory of my husband and I, and then, all the people that taught me something about coming to love. So this poem is young, small, and growing, often violently. And that's a line from NASA about the stars, young, small, and growing, often violently. Music can't save you, but it marks a place. And the knife can be a fierce negotiator. I learned this reckoning from the women raising me, my mother's 4 sisters, my father's 3, grandmothers, play cousins, surrogate aunties. They crowd the table, throwing cards and customs, warbling. I take a shining to everything they allow me to hear. The whiz and kingdom melodies, Motown, Handel, every haunt and opening. They tell me singing is my gift. Use it for rapture, not apology. And to cut any boy who messes with me. At weddings, funerals, school assemblies, my voice is their tender yield. Boys brave enough to try me always learn what I'm learning to be. A straight blade, a canticle, bigger than their scattering. Curve and contour of mother's hands, echo, aurora, an orchestra, a galaxy. So my aunts, thanks guys. I've been thinking about my aunts a whole lot lately. Both of my parents are one of 7. So, there's a whole lot of aunts and cousins going around. And so I'll read a few poems for my aunts and then we'll be into the wind. You know how you got, wild folks in your family? Well, this weekend, all of us got together, sadly, for a funeral, but they were telling stories, trying to decide who was the wildest. So there's plenty of stories on all those sides. But this story always makes me laugh. It's absolutely positively true, even though sometimes she'll try to deny it. My aunt kisses Jackie Wilson. I hope everybody knows who Jackie Wilson is, right? Aunt Shirley is telling the story again. The girls were raging. Guards were posted near the stage, but she was Olympic and rushed him. Mr. Excitement singing sweet crooning she was the finest girl he'd ever want to meet. And when she leapt, planting her hands, her hips, her pursed lips, his silence was the record's groove, sidling up against another curve. I believe in miracles and wonder. So when she says he was prettier than any other slick and moved like his body was anointed, how he perfected the spiral and backbone slip, I understand why she comes back to the story, unrepentant, long after reproof. Why nothing, the broken years, the non-believers, even the stars fall, halts the tailspin. The way back when every would-be wrong was right. Her teardrops weren't caused by the heart's lonesome pitching, when the broken kiss was little more than a new beginning. The spotlight gone dark meant he could be waiting behind some glittering door, and everything forbidden, everything desired, could be new and renewed at the encore. Thanks, y'all. Yeah, so these aunts here, they're a tough act to follow, I tell you that much. So this poem traces the trajectory of a particular aunt and uncle and my parents. And so I'll read this poem for them because they were strange and wonderful too. Benediction. Bless my parents, impractical anomaly, divorcing when I'm 12, remarrying when I'm 20. Bless my aunt and uncle who harbored my parents before me, then held fast to these 40-odd years. Bless our exemplars, motley kin from which we're birthed, wives, seed, saplings, and all living in the same dirt. Let the dogwood tree of time sublime intending the soldiers and flames, bearing boughs for each walk of life, be evergreen, four-leafed, and golden-centered. Bless the boys who loved us before they were forced to be men. Bless the girls grown out of women. Let the children learn early. People are only as powerful as you let them be. Let the fools who couldn't love us, like the astronomer loves the dark matter he'll never see, like night trains love Georgia and distance disappearing, like the wound loves the cells reborn after suturing, be chaff in the wind of our wandering. Bless love stronger than pride and flesh wounds. Bless the body rising in spite of itself. Let the rights pass down. Love until it hurts. Love like you'll be living forever. Love like what ails you will heal. Be the red unsown, a temple burning. Let the beloved be free or always returning. Thank y'all.
That was beautiful. Thank you. I am going to share screen if that's okay. I don't know if I need any special magical powers like co-host. This is always me thinking, I'm like, how do I wear the dots and the bells and the whistles?
There you go. And there, I think I got it because I'm the non-tech savvy writer, so I'm always.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
That worked. All righty.
I'm super grateful to be here. Thank you so much, Angelique and LP and this whole community for having me. I'm also just glad that this very nice man just installed a new thermostat. Ours crapped out today and it was very chilly for a while. So, all right, let me share a screen here. I'm a little bit of an experimental poet. So I love to be able to share the page when I read. So this is, Zoom readings are kind of a treat for me, actually. All right. So I joke about this manuscript is my second book. Well, I have to finish writing it, but it's all about migraines and pain, right? Which is super fun to be like, to get like amped up, like, let's talk about pain tonight, right? Let's talk about suffering. But I think it is a really interesting project to bring the creative gaze to this. So yeah, these are just poems about migraines. This is from the beginning of the work. Once, I hallucinated Mozart's piano sonatas for a full 5 minutes. When I told the neurologist, he laughed. Do you like Mozart? I asked, what is the root cause of migraine? He shrugged. 4 out of 5 women get them. Clearly, I did not go back to that neurologist. I'm going to skip this one. Sound drives across my body in waves, pierces my eye. Tears streak my face, pure pain reflex. The brain is a whiteboard, no vocabulary to scrub. I meditate, send oxygen to my brain cells, the roof of my skull flayed to brainstem. Leaving for work, I say goodnight to my fiance instead of see you later. Attempt to open the door once, twice, 3 times with the deadbolt still flung. Should you go to work? This one is a fun one. If this doesn't visually give you a migraine, just looking at it, it says, the more headaches you have, the more you will get. The more headaches you have, the more you will get. And it says it just 21 times in a row to symbolize having 21 days of migraine out of 30 days in 2017. I'm also very proud of getting paid for that as a standalone poem as well. Listen, poets, we pay bills with whatever money we get. In Michigan, I once helped my dad clean a doe. He secured a rope around her back hooves, then flung it up over the deck. In order to hoist her, I leaned into the peach of her fur, brushed the jet black hair of her eyelashes, avoided the coral slump of her gummy tongue. He warned me to avoid ticks, his initial knifing jagged, a ripping seesaw from chest to anus. I turned away, but I've never forgotten the plunge of the blade, the annihilation of her wild body. That same biting alterity snakes up my neck, colonizes the chamber of my cranium. Open me, you'll find a scree of glass, my brain no longer strung with pathways. Y'all were like, I came here tonight to hear some poems, not just think about the bad stuff. But these are a little bit more playful on the page, at least, right? So this one takes the outer edges of just like an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Before preventatives, my limbs were barometers, data guzzling stations of raw nerve. I carve a turn and the wind holds me up. I blow past a curve. Something isn't right. I was the muscle and the sinew and the gravel and the Teflon lane lines. I flexed a thigh muscle and the bike leaped 2 feet. Now I hammer my speed, ward off the microscopic difference. Woke up to static rain, but no migraine. Before preventatives, my limbs were barometers. Get to go on a little journey with me as I can't flip the screen around that fast on Adobe. This one is just the name of a drug, Topamax, with a footnote. So just a large gap here. Call your doctor right away if you or your family member experiences any of the following symptoms, especially if they are new, worse, or worry you. Fatigue or sleeplessness, thoughts about the seaside, nausea, attempts to build the castle, weight loss, new or worse environmental depletion, nervousness, feeling unmoored or adrift, prickling in limbs, oceanic feelings, psychomotor slowing, taste change, floating, undulating, or bobbing, difficulty finding words, gritty teeth, anorexia, frustration harvesting anemones, acting on dangerous impulses, abnormal tidal changes. And I think here, I'm gonna flip to the book that came out in the pandemic. I had a pandemic baby called Devil's Lake. There's a view of the cover here. So I don't know, many of y'all might have had books come out during the pandemic too. Basically just means you're on Instagram a lot, right? I'm like, hey, follow me on Instagram, come to Instagram, like please do this Instagram live event or Facebook, whatever it is. But there's an erasure that takes place in the middle of it. And when I was getting married, I sent out these wedding invitations and I got some, how do you call it? Fan mail in return, right? So this is called On Receiving a Homophobic Letter, a series of erasures. Version 1. My dear, I wish I spent more time living, but I've never understood how. Recently, I grabbed a pen. I worked on the answer to my life. I felt a jet, a magnet, a pancake, a chair, a doormat, in every cell, every molecule in my body. I'm not sure how. All I can say is I'm super not special. I used to talk to almost anyone and feel great love. I plead to you, go against the fullness you were meant to have. So I was like, okay. That was like the first one. I was like, let's do this again, right? So this is the same text. This person was not thrilled that I was marrying a woman. So I was like, instead of keeping this as like a secret shame, you know what I mean, that I just like carry with me, I was like, let's make this into art. Let's process it. So I was like, okay, version 2. Sarah, you are unbelievable. You know everyone. You came to mind because I didn't know what to do. At the age of 18, I decided to go down south. I spent 3 years in my kitchen. Unexplainingly, I lay there with no body. When I stood and said, I really don't know you, but you'd better get your seatbelt on. And I am now filled with his children. I'm so used to miracles, I can't even talk about them. And there's just one quick version here. Third version, I was like, okay, getting it out of my system. Sarah, you are my heart. I wish I spent more time to get to know you. At 20, the angels I thought were helping me had to go. Everything was going south in my marriage. I was in a jet blast with no feeling. I'm not sure how long it was. You're turning a new page. I feel great love for you. You are my heart. You. Thank you everyone so much.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Those were really fun. I love how you're playing with the page there. Okay, you're on mute. All right. Good evening. My name is Christina Springer, and I'm just going to read work. I'm not going to do much talking because talking always takes away time from the reading of poems. So, to Yellow Gal, the blood explains. Wave. Down Ocean Street, domino men, no bones beneath their feet. Roots run up today's dirt offerings so sunflower faces watch themselves, pace the cosmos in slow motion, our only mirror. The lilies in my corpuscles whisper among themselves about us, other flowers planted in these marrow fields, snigger as bishop's weed tendrils burrow into queen of night tubers to drain her before she makes that hard winter one thrust toward light. My digging stick discovers crimson cuneiform punched into shards of clay to read when time folds back my skin. A shaken bag of runes rumbles like braille, music over brittle scrimshaw flashbacks. Listen, thumbed keepa sinews pluck and list. The ones who walked before Rosetta Stone our bodies, These sculptures shaped when gods drank palm wine, but tormented when some conquest inebriated ghosts lust strutted like self-ordained and anointed curators. You can't help but still hear them bray how I exist for art's sake. When they chiseled us any which way with bast claws, Aphrodite hips, Yemaya womb, Kali arms, white buffalo woman mouth, swirled both the merry energies in a centrifuge and called me Black American woman, otherwise translated as Empress of the known universe. What am I supposed to do with this? My mother was a scientist. She read the sacred mysteries of the intoxicated double helix dancing on human stages under her microscope. When she said we were royalty, I believed her. We are. None of us what they would have us believe. We have always been everywhere. She gestured, look. Roman numerals tattooed in blue up and down the femur of memory count each military occupation by the souls of rapacious greed. On my bones, fluid scratchings, emerald demotic markings to read when future generations peel back my skin to reveal the almond-shaped blue eyes of my children, the many-hued fruits of my body, both rule and are eaten by the king and his men. But we first crowned in spirits, we first nod when Egun yammer, we overflow Orisha as two heads with syncopated feet dream, there is no obey. Yeah, the cowbell calls, hooved feet to heal, we put fingernails in jars and sew hair into gree-gree bags under their eyes. The Ganga is never sentimental. See, what they fear most of all is being lost, because not one of them can unspeak us. We did that. Remember, back in the swamps, behind the plantations, warriors stuffed the gullets of their misses with Spanish moss like the Moorish journey from Italy to France carved veves on the inside of our bones. Each time they spill our blood and break our bones like bread, our marrow stains curses into the soil, holding every root of their family's soul tree. We own them, took their blood, bound it, distilled it. They can't trouble us, not for real. So when her heaving gray muscles salt the earth and ask for blood, throw lilies as your sacrifice, ride the high tide with sugar and rum, laugh with that hurricane singing, we can never be undone. This next piece I'm going to read is called They Call Her Uncooperative in the Nut House. This is for a friend of mine named Dion. I see you lurking around the edges of this noxious, toxic, turbulent wasteland where your grief is stored in leaky containers, causing radio, emoto, active tremors along the fault line of your life. I read somewhere loss has no known half-life, causes mutations in the isotopes of agony, results in peculiar semi-conscious life forms which consume ability. When you do not speak of your pain, they call you uncooperative. But there's no appropriate protective gear where you are. Your unintentional excess of grief can only be exhumed using extreme caution. You've been very busy erecting danger signs. On a checklist designed for labeling the insane, ancestors murmuring in the ears is 2 points. What then is the value of your grandmother's surviving transatlantic rituals, hairy sticky amulets, pigeon chants, and your buried placenta singing? I believe civilizations whose fires burned first, entire continents, The umbilical cord connecting you to the little girl asleep in the cradle grave beneath the buckeye tree still pulses, silver, multidimensional, private as wisdom. Your daughter, gone, still talks. It is the truth. Listen. Black women feel from the corners of our eyes, rhythms of time, roots and foremothers arguing with each other, the intersections of our experience a precise cacophony with no known crossroads. And the last piece I'll do for you tonight has a long title. And this is this long title, and it is what it is. This piece is called Baby Girl Still Boo-hooing, so she was sent to go set up by Granny Tiana Bina and ask something about a Yes, baby. I too know the mincemeat life, the deft and sharp chefs who sweetly come for women dicing our hearts. I too know the quilters, how any scrap can be used to puzzle a life back together or relegate it to rags. I know also the anarchists armed with seed bombs to break forsaken lots into tin can tiara crowned sunflowers, fox-trotting with black-eyed Susans in plastic rubbish debutante gowns, hoping to lock the sun down beneath their shallow roots. And here you are, twisted tight for all that with that side-eye, bow-legged boy going boo-hoo-hoo and whining. What people gonna think of you? Oh, no, 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 baby, not here. You think I care? I put respectability in a brocade hat box one Saturday night in winter. She pushed her leg through the bottom, jumped from the top shelf, crept on silent cardboard feet, leapt over the rug river what guards my island bed and keeps my slumber separate from the trash-talking trees with their broken rings moaning about betrayal to my feet. And since deep slumber transfixed me with visions so strong, the popcorn crumbs looked like dandruff down my dressing gown. That skanky hat box fixed itself jauntily over my head and petulantly shrunk herself like a hungry python so I couldn't get it off. It did. That respectability box fixed to fit herself to me. Next morning, I couldn't see. There were no holes. And I bumbled about the house grateful for a tidy worthy of the blind, or the bric-a-brac would otherwise be broken. But I've been schooled. Thought back to that time I shed that flimsy paper doll lookbook beauty, ripped her smug mug into strips, soaked her in school glue and turned her into a papier-mâché fruit bowl. Left her at a potluck knowing full well and good somebody would put her in the sink to soak so she'd dissolve again into mash, which is what she always do, especially at the slightest sign of an available handkerchief might sacrifice himself to her blubbering. Just open the obituary section to see how skin deep most think she is. Figured I might as well strike first. Took a lesson from that. And banged my head against the lilac swirling wallpaper under that hat box holding respectability. Striving and Jones's measurement devices smashed, turned into spiders and scritch sidled off into the world to catch some others' manners mosquitoes unawares. Yes, I did that too. Buried and then salted the earth over her body, thorough like she, that come right before the lightning bolt time. Come round 50 it do. Boom, boom. Sizzle, buzz, crisp, and clean to clear all the fucks. You gotta get a broom, and after you sweep, you gotta take the garden hose, blast that drama right out of you with bleach, and freshen you up with some gardenia, spring water and milk, lest you stay susceptible to fuck giving. Yup, yup, yup. You can always tell who loves the fucks. She be the cunt with sweat beads with like clutched pearls, a fire pit of charred charcoal briquettes so dry even the shenanigans of boo-hoo baby men match her into a bonfire, and she convicted witches herself into a night-romping sukiyan, and next thing you know, she devouring polite conversations, having resurrected drama from the bottom of the ocean, so it come marching out up at the high tide and bring with it what sad long bones should be forming coral beds. Yup, the fuck givers be global warming, from the polar caps to in between their barbed wire thighs. So hear me when I say this. No, no, no. Yes, blue moons and black cats love fish, but a bloodless woman loves herself more and keeps her fucks for herself. Thanks y'all for listening.
Wow, Christina, that was wonderful and powerful. Thank you. Well, I wrote a book that was published during the pandemic, and it's called The Last Children of Mill Creek. And Mill Creek was a Black community, a segregated Black community in downtown St. Louis. Like many cities in America, the inner city is the oldest part, and as Europeans moved out, Black people moved in. The houses and neighborhoods were pretty old and dilapidated. And in this case, it was also segregated in my lifetime. So when I retired, I went back and gathered up stories that I'd been writing over the years about my memories of my family and my community. And I published them, and I'm really proud of them. So I'd like to read you a portion of one story, which was one of the first stories that my soon-to-be publisher read before offering me a contract to publish my book. It's called, now, and I should say, my grandmother owned our house. It was a small house. I have 8 sisters and brothers, and my parents and my sisters and siblings lived downstairs in my grandmother's house in 3 rooms. And my grandmother lived upstairs with a roomer, that's what we call boarders, in 4 rooms. So this is called Sun Up to Sundown. My grandmother joined many of the women on Bernard Street who left home before daylight to catch as many as 3 streetcars that transported them to manicured communities just west of the city limits. They arrived early to homes where they cooked and served scrambled eggs for breakfast and readied white children for school. The rest of their day was spent cooking, cleaning, and doing laundry until boarding streetcars in the evening to return them home just in time to go to bed. Grandmama said that there were sundown laws that mandated people of color to be off the streets in the county before sunset. If she had to work late, her white folks, that's how she referred to her employers, would drive her to the Wellston Loop to catch an eastbound streetcar back to the city. My grandmother was in bed for the night by 7:30, which was our time to be quiet. A slammed front door, a burst of laughter, or the rhythmic thump of Sam Cooke singing, "Another Saturday night and I ain't got nobody" on the radio would elicit a familiar rapping on her bedroom floor. There was a broomstick leaning against the wall, an arm's length away from her bed, just for the purpose of pounding a signal of silence. Sometimes, out of frustration, she would shuffle in her well-worn slippers to the top of the stairs and call down to my mother in a commanding tone made no less threatening by her shaky, weary voice. "Frances, make those children be quiet." It usually worked for the rest of the evening. Halfway up the stairs that led to Grandmama's rooms was my favorite retreat from the constant hum made by the 10 people inhabiting the 3 small rooms below. The worn wooden risers and treads of the steps created a perfect work desk for cutting out Betsy McCall paper dolls. The eagerly anticipated monthly issue of McCall magazine provided me with hours of cutting out brightly colored paper dresses, coats, and hats that I carefully crimped onto Betsy's posed body. More hours were spent drawing new outfits of my own design, using the smooth white cardboard that formed Daddy's freshly laundered Sunday shirts into a starch folded triangle. I cut and crafted small easels that held my paper dolls erect for miniature fashion shows. That space that divided Grandmama's quiet from our constant hum held another appeal for me. It was an opportunity to eavesdrop on my grandmother's cloistered existence just feet away. There was always a low murmur from her brown molded plastic Zenith radio that sat on a crowded table just inside her bedroom door. The black rotary telephone that took up most of the remaining space on the small table rarely rang in the evening. But when it did, I leaned in and pressed the side of my face against the upright wooden balusters and positioned an ear to hear what was said. Sometimes I could tell it was one of the sisters from the church, usually Mother Vine. Mother Vine was a feisty and friendly old lady who always smiled and stroked my face on Sunday mornings when I arrived at church. She tilted my chin upward and looked me in my eyes in a way that my grandmother never did. She would always ask, "How's your mama?" as if to distract me while she magically presented a peppermint candy from her purse. I couldn't see Grandmama's face, but I could hear a slight smile in her voice after she said, "Hey, Vine." Their phone conversations never lasted long and ended with a wry, knowing chuckle, followed by, "You get some rest now, bye." Other times, when the phone rang, I would hear a voice and words that I hardly recognized. Her side of the phone conversation started with the usual questioning, "Hello?" Then changed to an unfamiliar, subservient, "Yes, ma'am." After a pause, her voice changed again to a soothing, maternal tone that I only heard during these exchanges. "I know," she said reassuringly. "You be a good boy now and go to bed. I'll be there when you wake up in the morning." Thank you.
That was beautiful. I loved it. I loved it. Hello, everyone. My name is Robin McCormick. My pen name is Amicia McCormick, and I am ecstatic to be here with you guys this evening to share some of my work with you. The first thing I want to read is an excerpt from one of my books. It's entitled Kakistocracy. And I know you're like, "Kaka what?" I always get that. But it's called Kakistocracy. And the meaning of the word kakistocracy is a government that's ruled by the most unscrupulous or least qualified individual. So I know we may have some people in mind for that. So I want to read an excerpt from this book. In a dimly lit room, swirls of smoke ringlets collide with each other in the air. The smell of expensive scotch and aged brandy waft over several short-stemmed glasses. But one glass, half filled with rye whiskey, is being held by a well-dressed, middle-aged man. He inhales his cigar and listens while the others speak. Thomas, how's your son doing in his new position at Northwood and Gamble? Wilson asks. Oh, don't get me started on that, Wilson. I'd love to say he was doing great, but some black bastard was offered the position over him, top of his class at Yale, and they just hand his job to some undereducated nigger. Can you believe that? I know exactly how you feel, Thomas. My colleague's son went through the same thing. Been working with his company for years. He applied for this new position as head of marketing, and they gave it to a Mexican. They said he was more qualified. Qualified my ass. If it wasn't for us, he wouldn't even have a goddamn green card, Clark says, as a spray of alcohol shoots out of his mouth in frustration. This country is going to shit, says Sampson. Walter Davis isn't cut out to run a damn thing. His decision-making skills are subpar at best. How did we end up with this clown in office anyway? I'm glad his term is ending soon. Someone needs to throw all of these crappy bills he's implemented and start all over to the drawing board. You see what happened the other day in the news? The poor bastard had to deliver a public apology for something he said that was thought to be politically incorrect, laughed Sampson. It's getting out of control. You can hardly say anything nowadays without having to issue a public apology. And don't even get me started on the disrespect these days to our flag, Clark rants while shaking his head. The men all grumble in unison as they wave their hands and shake their heads at the idea of Clark starting on a rant that is obviously a common occurrence. Tate, you're mighty quiet. What are your thoughts? Asked Wilson. Tate removes the cigar from his lips as a smirk slowly forms on his face. Have you all ever heard of the Security of Freedom Edict? A mixture of mumbles and chatter begins. Well, allow me to inform you, gentlemen, of its particulars. The Security of Freedom Edict was put in place by our late great President Abraham Lincoln in 1863. It is basically a loophole that went alongside the Emancipation Proclamation. It requires each newly seated president, once he takes office, to reevaluate slavery and extend the life of the Emancipation Proclamation throughout another presidential term. Slavery may have thought to have been abolished, but this edict was put in place to make sure our economy could survive the absence of this large workforce. If he feels that it is no longer in the best interest of our nation to keep this in place, he can issue this edict. Now, as you've seen so far, every president has unequivocally signed and issued its continuance. This is why many people have never heard of it, and the ones that know don't speak of it. Well, then how do you know so much about it, Tate? Clark challenges. Don't worry about that, Clark. Just know that I have done thorough research and I have resources in high places, he says as he rolls his eyes and smirks. But the real question you should be asking me, my good man, is something totally different, Tate says as he nods towards Clark. The gentlemen perk up and some lean forward, awaiting Tate's next words. What if we reinstated slavery? How could this be accomplished successfully? Tate asks while sinking back into his chair in a calm manner. Laughter erupts. Chatter fills the room. The voices and discussion monopolize the conversation. Gentlemen, Tate attempts to quiet them down and get their attention. I'm serious, he says sharply with a smirk this time. The room goes silent. Thomas raises his glass. Wilson sheepishly smiles while looking around for visual support, then nods in agreement. Sampson bears a look of worry as he watches Tate rally the men. Others raise their glasses in the air. Tate stands, loosens his tie, and says, "Gentlemen, let's begin." So that's one excerpt from Kakistocracy. And the next reading I want to do is from my book entitled Jar of Hearts. And I'm just going to read a little bit from here. Trevor was so good to me. He loved me. He would have done anything for me. Why did I feel a need to give up a good thing? It just wasn't enough. Something was missing. I didn't know what, though. All I knew was that I needed to fill that void. Being with Steve and Chase satisfied that. It was temporary, though. After the newness and excitement wore off, I felt a need to move on. I was starting to feel that way about Chase and Steve. I felt caught in an endless cycle. A few weeks had passed after my last incident with Steve, and I woke up one morning to get ready for school as usual. As I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom, I felt the sudden urge to throw up. I ran to the toilet and began to vomit. I thought I was coming down with something because after I was done, I still felt a little queasy. I got it together and headed out the door to school. When I arrived, I ran into Kim in the hall. She looked concerned as soon as she saw me. "You look awful, girl. Are you feeling all right?" "I feel like I'm getting sick. I am so tired and everything aches. Even my boobs hurt." She looked at me with wide eyes in shock. "Why are you looking at me like that, girl?" I asked in an accusatory tone. "When's the last time you had your period?" As I answered her, I felt the words coming out of my mouth in slow motion while realizing what she was saying. I was due to come on 2 weeks ago. We both stared at each other in silence. Shit, I ran down the hall with the realization that I was probably pregnant. This is Steve's baby. That time we were at his aunt's or grandmother's house was when it happened. I still believe that Chase was sterile, so it couldn't have been his. I was in such a panic. There was no way I could keep it. My mother would kill me, and my father, well, I might as well pack my bags right now. This was a disaster. How could Steve be so freaking careless? He was a grown man. Hell, he could go to jail for this crap. A 27-year-old man getting a 16-year-old girl pregnant, they would put him under the jail. How was I going to tell Chase? I had to get rid of it. Then the whole thing would just go away. The next time I saw Chase, I was so nervous that he would find out. I felt like he could see right through me and know I was carrying someone else's baby. I could not have this baby. My life would be ruined. I had to find a way to get rid of it. I had no job, no money, nothing. How could I even pay for an abortion? I couldn't tell Steve about it. He might freak out. He was too unpredictable. Chase, however, loved me. He'd be understanding and compassionate if he thought it was his. So I came up with a plan. The next time I talked to Chase on the phone, I told him I had to see him to talk about something important. He was so nonchalant about everything that he just agreed to a day to talk without even asking me what it was. Like we occasionally did, I skipped school and we went to his house. His mom worked a full-time and a part-time job, so she was never home. When we got settled in his room, he plopped on his bed. I sat in front of him with my legs crossed and a serious look on my face, all the while talking through this in my head, reminding myself of how important it was for me to pull this off. Chase, I'm pregnant, I blurted out quickly. To my surprise, he didn't react the way I thought he would, with a gasp or eyes bulging. Okay. He spoke very slowly with a questioning tone in his voice. His expression was blank, so I couldn't tell what he was thinking. He just sat there. I wasn't even going to mention anything about the chicken pox or his so-called sterility. I wasn't even going to allude to the chance that it could possibly be someone else's either. I played it cool and concerned. So, what are we going to do about this situation? You and I both know we can't keep this baby. I could see the tension leaving his body. I guess he assumed that since I was a girl, I would want to have his kid. Chase had a part-time job and I knew he could somehow come up with the money. Hell, I didn't even know how much an abortion cost. I told him I would ask around and look through the phone book to see where some clinics were close by. The weight of the whole situation must have come rushing down upon me at once. I started sobbing. Chase leaned forward and gave me a hug. He kissed me on my forehead and looked me into my eyes and said, "Hey, it's going to be all right." Thank you, ladies.
Wow. Wonderful. I'm just so excited to be here. I don't know if you know each other, but I'm excited to know you. I'm Regina Garcia. I don't have a book per se, not yet, but I am going to have some upcoming publications. I've been published in some other places. I actually, the first poem that I want to read is entitled Voice. It is going to be published in an upcoming anthology published by Cypher entitled Black and. My poems tend to center around issues related to race and gender and social justice. So that is what you will hear on tonight. I have screamed for an eternity, and sometimes it has been powerful and terrible. It has moved the danger away. I have raised my torch and dared anybody to silence me. I have bared pointed teeth, saliva pouring down my chin, eyes bulging, feet ready to run and jump and kick. I am the sound. I am the rage, yet sometimes I am tired, frightened, no, deathly afraid. I have called upon my mother spirits, those assigned to me, to hold back the devils that have come for me, come for my children, the greatest sources of my fear, feeling the wind and wave of their hands as they dodge my grasp. My old woman spirit guides have heard my entreaty and arrived, pocketbook handles in the crooks of their arms. They've sung holy war songs and done ring dance and lit fire to purge my fear and sacrificed it on the altar of womanhood. No room for it, fear in Blackness. No room for it, fear in womanness. What a tragic combination of expectations. For a time, I thought I could fear without fear. Turns out that I cannot have those moments. Gotta put on my good Black woman, grease her down, smother her in high blood pressure, cook her down in bad cholesterol, band her like a tumor, and stand like it's no matter. yet I am matter. I am water, I am blood, I am bone, I am skin, I am eyes, I am limbs, I am lungs, I am ears, I am heart, I am weeping doubt. I am fire. My tough old women don't care though. Better crazy than crying. My old woman spirits have told me I must be strong. That's what the stars and the preacher told them. They have lived it. They know. No palace to rest, the charges given me. This next poem is actually written, it was an encouragement to a friend who had recently lost a job and was just feeling kind of low. And it's entitled, I think we probably can all relate to those times when we felt like we didn't measure up. This is called They Have Taken Nothing. They have taken nothing. The inconvenient who interfere, mind-bound to oppress, not your skin, your smile, your hair, your bones, your heart, your beauty, nothing. Despite the ripping, tearing, gnashing, for you will be blessed, anointed, reassembled in this land and new lands. They have taken nothing. Not your mind, not your essence, not your gifts, not that which is seeded in you, not that which springs up in your belly, not that which sings the song in your soul. They have taken nothing. The fields in which your thoughts walk, the suns that even your closed eyes see, the waters under which you swim, over which you glide, unfettered by monsters, minstrels, and mistrials. The ancestors guide you. The Creator made you. God born saves you. Spirit covers and reveals you and reveals to you. They have taken nothing. They have tricks with no power, shifting lights with no illumination, hidden hands, weak grasp, no understanding of your station. They have taken nothing. Only closed doors, piteous attempts at control. For your amulets are scattered strategically around the realm, around the world. Possessive earthen carnality is futile. They have taken nothing. For you are here, holding the keys to every possession and unrealized obsession that you have, that you are meant to have. Your riches stored, your then, now, and to be lives in readiness. They have taken nothing. You still have everything. This last poem is the poem that I think brought me here. I had the opportunity to read it at a Halloween Zoom. And so this is entitled, This Fire Tastes Like. This fire won't look like the last ones did. Singed souls, torn up, crying, wandering, wondering how to get love back, how to fix life, how to repair. The last fires tasted like loss, tasted like shame, tasted like despair, tasted like mourning, tasted like no way out, tasted like no way back, tasted like Tulsa, tasted like Elaine, tasted like Watts, tasted like Wilmington, tasted like old Epps High, tasted like all that it had consumed. This fire, though, tastes different. This fire tastes fed up. This fire has eyes set beyond loss, beyond prison, beyond death, beyond the graves, This fire has new eyes fixed on that new Jerusalem. New fire going to propel these children into promised land. They won't need the water of the oppressors because they are children of the living waters and raging fires, an earth that has promised fertility, yet pushed out weeds to choke and distract. This fire tastes different. It tastes like energy, tastes like righteous fury. Its fuel is dark kindling root. It will combust from a place so deep, so misunderstood, so underestimated that it will not be contained. This fire tastes different. It tastes like resolve. It will reject any attempts to thwart combustion, the internal combustion. It will incinerate attempts at trickery. It has seen the video and believes. It saw murderous hubris. It saw the dead that were tried for dying. It saw the solid stance of patronizing defiance of other fires. It saw the lies stifling acrid air. This fire tastes different. It tastes alive. It will not stop until there is nothing left that can stop it. It will then scoop the ashes and build Jerusalem. Yeah, this fire tastes different. This fire tastes like revelation. This fire tastes like change. This fire tastes like hope. Thank you.
Miss Regina, that was the one. That is the one, man.
I was debating it. I said, she's heard it. Should I do it? But then I said, something.
That's the one. That's the one.
Somebody said, do that.
Yeah, do that. That's the one. That is the one.
Thank you. Everybody is so wonderful.
You all did an amazing job tonight. Oh my gosh. Thank you all so much. Oh my gosh. I'm filled. My heart is full. My soul is fed. My teacup is empty. That concludes the literary cipher, y'all. That is like, and then boom. Drop the mic on that one. If you haven't already, please put your information in the chat, links to your books, your Instagram handles, Twitter handles, all of that. We want to post all your information to the Literary Cipher group so that we can share, support, and buy your stuff. That's what it's all about. You all, thank you so much for agreeing to participate. This was amazing. Everybody go ahead and unmute yourselves and give yourselves a round of applause. Woohoo!
Amazing.
That was dope. That was
Awesome.
so dope.
Yes.
Awesome.
Dope reading. That was dope.
Wow.
What a great,
Fire,
what a great
fire.
read.
Yes.
It's just something that happens whenever it's all women, all female lineup. It's just like a different type of energy, and it just all it just kind of flows by itself. It's just, that was awesome. Thank you guys so much. Also, if you know of anybody who is a writer, no matter where they are in their writing experience, whether they're published, unpublished, aspiring, whatever, send them my way. We have these readings every month. It's normally the third Tuesday, unless there's something going on, like a child's birthday or something. But it's normally the third Tuesday of every month. So by all means, please send them our way. We want to hear them, want to support and all that good stuff. I normally keep the meeting open for a little while afterwards. If anybody wants to stay on and chat, we can go ahead and chop it up a little bit. Otherwise, thank you guys. Peace and blessings, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, any announcements, anything anybody wants to share before we?
I just want to say thank you to my people that came.
Oh yeah,
Katrina and Paulette, and I think I saw Cherie, and who else did I see? I think I saw somebody else, but I can't. My mind just went blank.
Your squad showed up.
Thank you all, everybody. It was wonderful hearing you. And thanks for inviting me, LP.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Hey, LP,
my
I wanted to make a quick announcement.
Go for it.
I just recently started a writing and publishing company. It's called XIII Company. And right now I'm in the process of planning a writing retreat for next summer. So if anyone is interested in a nice little getaway with beautiful views, quiet, peace, where you can work on whatever you're working on, I'm in the process of planning something. So I'll put the information out once I have it together to the group.
Yes, ma'am. Keep us posted.
And you're where? Where are you from?
I'm in Laurel, Maryland.
Laurel, Maryland. Okay. My son and my daughter-in-law live in Greenbelt, Maryland.
Oh,
Oh,
about
okay. Yeah, that's where my daughter went to high school at Roosevelt.
Roosevelt. Somebody say high school in Greenville. That's Roosevelt.
That's where we
Any other announcements? Thank you for that, sis. I'm gonna be mentioning that. Thank you.
No, I just want to say I'm just so I look at all of you and you're doing such great things. I'm a community. I've always been a community poet. I mean, I've always been a poet and a performer, but and I teach English, but I just have kind of gotten into trying to like officially, publish some things.
Yeah.
But I've gotten a South Florida Poetry Journal, Main Street Rag. Everything is leaving me now. Sapphire Hues, Wingless Dreamer. So I was told you need to build up your publications before you do your book. You hear all these conflicting ideas. Do any of you have a preferred way to get, well, of course, if you're published, you already have a book, but do you remember what your process was in doing your first one?
I mean, I think it's the same process you just laid out. Sarah also just dropped some information in the chat. You might want to take a look at. Bellevue is a gorgeous journal, so she's looking for work.
All right.
But I mean, this is the same process. Start small. We all need your poems in the world. Your poems are already making their way in the world in different ways. So you're publishing kind of little by little in journals, and that helps you see, the stuff that's polished enough that it maybe can wade its way through readers and through editors, and the more you do that, the more you'll start adding up your little super polished pieces. Well, I got 5 here, I got 10 here, I got 25 here. And then, there's just myriad small presses, contests. That was the way that, my first book was published through a contest, but it was adding up those tiny little poems, making sure they're polished until I had a whole manuscript to work through.
Right. Okay.
Everybody else?
That's good. Thank you. You take my
Yeah,
notes.
mine is similar to hers. And and this may be, something that's kind of good for you. I didn't start back writing until about 2017. And, but I just kind of kept at it, started sending things out, kind of, furiously polishing things off. I joined a kind of a hidden Facebook group where I got to meet other poets and kind of establish connections. And if you send me your contact information, I'll get you connected in that group as well, because then you learn it's about all these different women and non-binary poets connecting each other and helping each other learn about new opportunities and supporting each other and etc. So it's and that enabled me to kind of in a lot of ways kind of get an MFA on the fly, because I was learning from those folks about the submission process and connections and polishing and how to arrange a manuscript and etc. So I'd be happy to pass that on to you as well.
Oh, well, wow, that's great. That's great. I do. My friend Celestine, she's here too. And she is she's wonderful. She's actually doing she has an activity coming up or a film fest coming up this weekend, and so part of that, I'll be facilitating a session on charting a course to multimedia production. So it's actually on how to start using poetry videos and film.
Ooh, awesome.
To work out there. And I've had the experience, well, I don't have a book, I've been in a documentary.
Nice.
Documentaries. My poetry was used as a transitional and one of them actually won a Mid-South regional Emmy. So I have these little pieces of things. I have these pieces but I just really, let me tell you, want to know my goal? My goal.
Tell us your goal, sis.
Okay. I want Beyonce and Jay-Z to call me. And
Oh, that's everybody goal.
Look,
Yes, go for it.
that's it. Yeah, you
that's
know.
showing up my goal.
Got a name
Too.
on it?
When they
There
call
you go.
you call them your friend.
There you go. We all just call each other. They call me, y'all.
They called me. They called us. They called me. Us, all of us.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. You know, he's into publishing now and stuff, so
Never know.
you
Right.
never know.
Never know.
You never know. Everybody's branching out.
Yeah.
Everybody's branching out. So yeah.
It was so good,
Also,
folks. I gotta jump
you
off. But
are-
Oh,
See,
thank you,
Remica,
Queen, so
Hi.
much.
Yes.
that you are a real poet.
Yes.
You know, books, no books, publications, no publications. You are a
Right.
real poet.
Yes.
And none of those things define whether you are or are not a poet. It's your personal goals.
Right.
But everyone's giving you such good advice. I wanted to just put that one on top of all of those. Do your
I'm real-
research, look up on those publications, get your manuscript together, but
Right.
always remember you are a poet.
Yeah.
That nobody can tell you one way or another about that.
Right. Right.
You know,
Thank
I
you.
received that too.
Saying that,
I
Amen.
received that.
Christina,
Yes.
I
Huh?
thank you for
received
saying
that.
that because poetry is one of those things that you come to all different kinds of ways.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you can kind of limit yourself by thinking you have to be in this circle or be that kind of poet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I kind of fell into it like, gosh, 20 years ago, just writing. And my community pretty much made me, you know, it's funny because I like to see myself kind of like as a little Maya Angelou, writing the poems
Right.
that academics don't want to hear.
Mm.
And, you know, but so I hate to even say that, writing the poems that academics don't want to hear, because it's usually we think that academics are into like craft poetry. And I'm so like not a craft poet. I'm just a poet. But I think being in these circles like this, and I'll just say that communing with other poets, it does have its advantages. It really does. Just seeing what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And I like different things. So LP, I haven't been able to come to the Cypher in a long time.
I'm so happy to see you.
But I've been checking it out, and I'm like, I gotta get in there tonight, and I'm so glad I came because one, I saw
I'm so
Christina,
glad.
and I haven't seen Christina in a long time. So I wanted to get on here and hear her and Remica. I recognize some faces. So, but congratulations to all of you. I enjoyed like absolutely all of it, and I'm looking forward to the publications that are to come. She had me on several months back in the quarantine.
Yes.
We
It was
had
like
such an amazing
it was
time.
February. Yeah, we
Yeah,
did like
we
a
had a
whole,
good
it was like a
time.
whole Black History Month, like
Oh yeah,
Sounds of
yeah.
Blackness. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh. So yeah, I saw you
Yeah.
creeping. I was that's like amazing.
I gotta save this thread because I like connecting with all the people that I meet on your ciphers. So you know,
Yes.
and that's just really what it's all about.
That's what it's all
You know, you
about.
connect with people, and it doesn't matter what kind of poetry you do because you just be surprised, you know, that people call you to do things.
Yeah.
So you know, just be ye also ready, as we say in the Black church, and always have a poem ready. Always
I
have
hear
a
that.
poem ready.
Always.